As we begin this morning, I'm moving, and so I'm going through all my files, trying to eliminate all of the weight of the move and everything. And I love Dr. Robert Mueller, the former Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations, who was a friend of mine. And he wrote a lot of prose, and so I want to share this one this morning in light of all that's happening in our world. He says, decide to be the good news. How about that? Decide to be the good news. Let the good news be incarnated in you. Proclaim your belief in humanity, in our success, in our further transcendence, in our peace and justice and happiness, in the construction of the planet of God. Isn't that beautiful? Decide to be the good news and proclaim your belief in the construction of the planet of God. Think of it, feel for it, speak of it, work for it. For all we think, all we feel, all we say, and all that we do must not hinder but help the great design of God. Our cosmic destiny, our further ascent and evolution towards the permanent reign of God on our miraculous planet. To our hearts and our minds, let there be an infilling of your light, life, love, wisdom. We let ourselves be centered in your presence. And together we affirm there is only one presence, one power, one love, active in my life, serving in this ministry, sacred in all people everywhere, God the good. Would you join me in affirming it? There is only one presence, one power, one love, active in my mind, serving in this ministry, sacred in all people everywhere, God the good, omnipotent. And so let yourself feel after that word. One presence, one power, one love, God the good. And decide to be that good news. Proclaim it, declare it, live it. And so we let ourselves be centered now, open and receptive in the name and the nature of the living Christ presence. And together we all say, Amen.
I want to welcome you all this morning and give thanks for the opportunity of loving you and blessing you today and being able to appreciate with you the wonder of the way in which God has made us. Nothing is more wonderful in all the world than that truth, that God has made us as spiritual beings. And we're discovering more and more how to live as spiritual beings. I want to acknowledge Chris Sullivan, who's with us today as our chaplain, who's up here in front row. And if any of you have a special prayer need today, she'll be happy to pray with you following this service. I also am happy to say the Spirit has worked through your prayer work, and we now have a new meeting place. Now, I'm not quite sure how you're applauding from this standpoint that we've always talked about finding our own place. We found another place to lease. That is, it's going to be our Sunday meeting place. It doesn't have our offices and all together, which ultimately is what we're going to have. But we are very pleased that this new place came to us. It is the Colesman Community Center at Fulton and El Camino Recreation District headquarters. It is at the corner of Cottage Way and Howe Park. It is it's about a short 3.5 miles from here. For some of us who come from up toward Roseville, it'll be maybe a little bit shorter. From some of you who come from the other part of town, it may be a little bit longer, but not much. It's going to be just about the same. And the wonderful thing is we'll never have a parking problem there. Close our announcement by just encouraging you again to keep up our prayer work, giving thanks for divine order and harmony and wisdom in the unfoldment of the coming weeks and of our election and of all that's going on in the world right now. Never were you more important than you are right now in terms of holding to the truth of our being.
Let's begin our time of prayer and meditation. I invite you to let yourself relax. Take a couple of cleansing breaths. Breathe in and breathe out any anxiousness or concern. Breathe in the breath of spirit. Let your mind be still. Let your thoughts be still. Let your emotions settle into a point of light and peace. Just be open and receptive to the presence. I have a reading from the Course in Miracles. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent the one who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because the beloved who sent me will direct me. I am content to be whatever God wishes, knowing that God goes with me. I am healed as I let God teach me to heal. I am healed as I let God teach me to heal. And of course, Jesus said, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and in me you will find rest for your souls." I am content to be wherever God wishes. Let's affirm that. I am content to be wherever God wishes. It's a beautiful word of surrender, alignment with the mind of Christ, alignment with the order of Christ. So I invite you to set aside any personal struggle or concern and let your thoughts be at peace. Let the blessings of God in. Release any need to be in charge and expand your willingness to receive from Spirit. As you gently let go and quiet your thoughts, your mind will take on a new receptivity. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because the beloved who sent me will direct me. And so letting your mind go deeper now into that Christ presence. There is an affinity, a feeling of oneness. My mind is one with the mind of Christ. I have faith in the right and perfect answers. My mind is one with the mind of Christ. Let's affirm it together. My mind is one with the mind of Christ. I have faith in right and perfect answers. Together, I have faith in right and perfect answers. You see that in the unfoldment of this ministry and our right and perfect place. We see that in our presidential election for right and perfect outcomes. We see it in your life, in the circumstances and conditions that you are meeting. We see it in your body, in the physical wholeness that God sources in and through you. We see it in others. Right and perfect outcomes for all those who have asked for prayer from our ministry, all of the names in our prayer box. Each one of you here right now is blessed, blessed in the presence of Spirit. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because the one who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever God wishes. Feel that surrender. You are here by divine appointment and content to be where God has placed you. I am content to be wherever God wishes me to be. Again, I am content to be wherever God wishes me to be. I am healed as I let Him teach me to heal. Now we open our listening mind in the silence and in the interlude of the music, so that inner teacher comes in to reveal, to heal, to bless. I am content to be wherever God wishes me to be, in the silence.
It's a good thing you stopped playing because I was lost. I love our prayer time together. I feel a very special strength of it. I hope you do too. Today we're continuing the series of lessons that we're doing on unity fundamentals. We're talking about the Word. The Word. The Word is such a special thing. The words we speak have an impact upon our world and upon each other. Sometimes that impact isn't exactly the way we intended. Have you ever had that happen, where something you said really wasn't quite understood? I received an email from one of my fellow ministers this past week, Richard Manti, who used to be the minister in Marin. And he's married to Donna Manti, who has the ministry in Reno. And we were talking on the phone, and then I got an email from him, and he said, I just got an email from his wife, who was probably at her office, and he said, I just had to pass it on. And I thought, this fits Sunday's lesson, so I'm going to share it with you. It said, the email reads, after 35 years of marriage, a husband and wife came for counseling. When asked what the problem was, the wife went into a tirade listing every problem they had ever had in all of the years they had been married. On and on and on. Neglect, lack of intimacy, emptiness, loneliness, feeling unloved and unlovable. An entire laundry list of unmet needs she had endured. Finally, after allowing this for a sufficient length of time, the therapist got up, walked around the desk, and after asking the wife to stand, he embraced and kissed her long and passionately as her husband watched with a raised eyebrow. The woman shut up and quietly sat down in a daze. The therapist turned to the husband and said, this is what your wife needs at least 3 times a week. Can you do this? Well, I can drop her off here on Mondays and Wednesdays, but I fish on Fridays. Somehow the husband just didn't quite get the drift of the words. Can you remember perhaps when you were a little kid? I'll just say, I can remember when I was a little kid. And we'd be walking home from school, and all of us guys would be together. And all the girls would be walking by themselves, And we would do things like maybe somehow a rock or something would go toward them to scare them or something else. And they would stop and look at us and start saying, you bad boys, you bad boys. And then we'd put our hands on our hips and look at them and say, sticks and stones might hurt us, might break our bones, but words will never hurt us. Remember that? I hope so. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Can you remember? I know all the men here can remember. Kevin, perhaps you can't. But the rest of us here, as I look around, can remember when you had to take a screw that has been in the wood for a long period of time, and how you took that screwdriver and tried to turn that screw out of the wood. I mean, it just doesn't want to move. And so you give it all the muscle power you could give it, and then you maybe go get a pair of pliers to put a little leverage on your screwdriver, thinking that might get it out. And finally you have to call some sort of an expert. But that day has gone, because now we have a power tool. And most young people take it for granted. That's the way you back screws out now. You just have your power tool and you buzz them right out. It's incredible, isn't it? Well, the wonderful truth is that we are discovering more and more that we also have a power tool when it comes to living our lives, and that's the power tool of our thoughts and our words, which are our formed thoughts, our uttered thoughts. Putting our thoughts into words reveal in most instances the depth or the parameter of our thoughts on any issue. Our thoughts, in most cases, reveal the depth of our thoughts on any issue or the parameters of them. And I think of parameters when I think of something that I came across this last week. I did, again, what we can do in this incredible age of ours. Any subject that you want to think about or talk about and you want a little more input, all you do is go to your computer. So I went in there and I thought, I wonder if anybody said anything about the power of the word. So I put the power of the word in there. And right away, what popped up? My wonderful friend, Maya Angelou. And Maya was giving a talk. And she was really going on about the power of the word. The words you speak, she said, release a power. They go right into the walls. And then on top of that, that was just a short segment. And then another one came on attached to that, which was Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah was just saying that Maya really believes what she just said. She said, I've been with her, I've been in her home when she has actually confronted her guests when they were speaking things that she felt were negative or wrong. And she said, if you can't change your language, leave. She said she was really strong about the power of the word. Well, I just happened on that same page on my internet, I saw another talk by Maya. And so I thought, well, just hear what Maya's saying there. Well, she was talking at a university. You know, she received over 50 honorary degrees in her lifetime. This was an incredible person, incredible. Anyway, she was talking, and first she was introduced. I mean, they introduced her, and rightfully so, telling all the incredible things she had done with her life. And then, and the person said, and now Maya. And there was this long pause. I thought, I wonder where Maya is. And anyway, then Maya came up, and I realized that she was having trouble walking. I remember when she came to see me, as I've shared with you in the past, that she had a cane, and when we walked from her limousine into the Charles Fillmore Chapel there where we talked, she had a cane, and she leaned on my arm the whole way in. But this time, it was quite clear she was really struggling, and they put a little chair for her, and she'd sit in the chair part of the time, and then she'd stand up, and she finally commented on why she was doing that, and she said, you know, my doctor says I have a bad knee. And he's told me that for some time. And I always told him, but the other one's a good knee. But she said he insisted on talking about the bad knee. And she said, unfortunately, the good knee listened to the doctor and the bad knee, and now I've got two bad knees. And I thought, well, she's playing on the positive side of that. But then she was talking a little later, and she said, my darn knees. I thought, whoa, Oprah, what are you, not Oprah, Maya, what are you saying? And I realized that she was expressing what is true of almost all of us. And that is, it is hard to always speak the word in the flow of language, but it also tells you the parameters. It only tells us that Maya hasn't totally put this together with absolute control or conviction of her word. Am I downgrading Maya? No way. This person was heads and shoulders above, certainly where my expression is in this life experience. But I use her as an example only to say, you have to really be aware of your self-talk. Very aware of your self-talk. I know that I have had that occasion of talking to some of you my students and suddenly say something and have them go, "Whoa, what did you say, Philip?" And I realized I said something that really isn't what I believe, but it obviously has not been absorbed so totally in my consciousness, or I never could have said that. So as I say, our words reveal the parameters and the depth of our feeling about any particular subject in our lives. Everything around us, as Maya said, has ears to hear. And I love that she said it's in the wall. And it is. Our words register in the walls. I was reminded also in that of the Princeton scientists who for 28 years, without notoriety to most of the world, Dr. Johns is his name, who was the head of the engineering department at Princeton University, ran a project to demonstrate the fact that what you think and what you say registers on all of the physical equipment in your life. And I think I've told you about that before, and advise you to talk to your computer kindly, because it hears everything you said. And John has demonstrated that in their laboratory work. I came across another interesting thing in this regard. It was about a crystal healing therapist, which is, I understand that as someone who uses crystals, who many people feel have a real healing energy, and they use crystals in helping people to receive healing. And a patient came to this particular therapist and for healing for an eye disease that they had. And the therapist said, "Well, before we do anything, I want you to talk with me and tell me about yourself, about your background, your heritage, whatever you want to talk about for a little while." And so she let the patient talk for about 10 minutes and then stopped her and said, "Are you aware of what you've been saying to me?" She said, "In the last 10 minutes, you have said 15 times, because I counted them, 'I hate to see.' I hate to see things work out that way. I hate to see this. I hate to see that." And she was there for treatment on her eyes. Another article that I came across was by Susan Smalley, Professor Emeritus of the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at UCLA. And she tells stories of how when she has run projects with her students under control situation, she had them one time sit and spend a classroom time period observing older people, films of older people doing things. And then, and don't ask me how they do it, but they do, they have ways of being able to follow up on what is the effect upon the study group. And they found that when they were put in a position where they watched films of older people for a length of time, they walk slower than they normally walk. They also find that when they watch films of loving kindness and of compassion, that they found an immediate response in the study group in their own attitudes, first about loving and being compassionate toward themselves or others. One more along this line. I saw this, and perhaps some of you saw this. It was a brief film about a blind man who was sitting on the street, and he had a little sign beside him with his cup out in front of him, and the sign said, "I am blind." And a young woman came along, and she picked up the sign. He couldn't see her. Picked up the sign and changed the wording on it. She said, "It's a beautiful," on the sign she wrote, "It's a beautiful day and I can't see it. It's a beautiful day and I can't see it." And of course, what happened in the film is, when he had his sign up, "I'm blind," occasionally somebody went by and dropped something in. But when she changed the sign, it's a beautiful day, but I can't see it. Everybody going by was putting something in the pot. Now, did that actually happen? I don't think so. But the point is, they were trying to make a point on this video that's going out to everybody of the importance of words, what a difference it can make. And of course, there are some people who make their living trying to determine what are the words that move people in the direction you want to move them, all underwriting the point that words are important. Every word we speak. Everything that is important about the Word was captured in the very first chapter of Genesis. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And of course, as it then follows up and is referred to most often, he was talking about Jesus. And the Word was made flesh. But what it's also really talking about is that the creative energy of God flows through the Word to bring forth the potential of the being, of any particular being. Because when we focalize our thought to express it in word form, we release an energy that goes to work to bring it forth in our lives. So this would seem to be saying for all of us that if you're going to want to experience or manifest anything in your life, all you have to do is speak it. That's pretty great, isn't it? The power. All you have to do is start speaking it. You need a little more prosperity in your life? I'm prosperous. Done. I'm healthy. Done. Is it done? Is it manifest? Not yet. Because there's something that's missing. And what's missing is speaking the word with the conviction and faith of your consciousness, which gives it authority. It is speaking the word with authority that changes our lives. Can you remember, this talk's all about can you remember, but can you remember the stories of Ali Baba and the 20 thieves? 40 thieves. Ali Baba and the 40 thieves. You remember what Ali Baba said? Open sesame. He didn't say, open sesame. If you were directing the movie, you'd say, okay, now belt it out. Open sesame. So, I'm sure that when Jesus said to the man by the pool who had been on his cot for so long, I'm sure when he said, take up your bed and walk, he didn't say it that way. I'm sure he looked at him and spoke it with a voice of authority. Take up your bed and walk. Now, when I say that, I think of another story that I shared with you some time back, I think, about the man who had been in a wheelchair for 20 years, and the Catholic priest in Boston was having a healing. He was quite well known as a healer. And this man had gone to him at the urging of his family. He had gone in his wheelchair and sat through a 2-hour program. And nothing had happened to him. And he was just thinking to himself, I'm getting out of here. And he was looking around for his relatives who he thought were in the back to get him out of there. When suddenly he realized that the man was coming, the priest rather, was coming right to him. And as you may recall the story, the priest came to him and spoke a word, and the next thing you know, the man got up and walked out of the church with the priest. The words that the priest spoke to him were, we're going to walk out of here together. Wow. And again, he didn't say, I think we're going to walk out of here now. This is a good time to leave. Let's go out together. He said to him, we're going to walk out of here together now. And the guy got right up out of his chair. 20 years, his muscles were totally atrophied. He got up out of his chair and walked out with him. Where did all that power come from? It came from the individual who stood up, but it was quickened by the strength and the energy of the words that were spoken to him. And so those are extreme examples of the power of the word. But for today, what we're wanting to know for ourselves is they're working for all of us all the time. They may not work at that level so that when you say, I am 18 years old again and can hardly wait to play a round of tennis. But more aptly, there would be things like, this is a wonderful day. I am so glad to be in it. We can either, again, just voice that, or we can say it with authority. You know, as CHERIE knows, when you start working on a talk, things come to you from all directions. I saw another video of a guy who was lying in bed, sleeping, and the alarm clock went off. Only it's a kind of alarm clock that I don't own yet, and that is, instead of having a bell or a ding-ding, it's a voice. And this voice came to the man and said, time to go to work, time to go to work, time to go to work. And the guy goes, oh, God. And he moans and he groans and he finally gets out of bed, you know, and starts his day brushing his teeth this way and all. But according to this video, he changed the sound on his alarm. And the voice that came on when it was time to get up said, time to make a difference, time to make a difference, time to make a difference. Wow. And of course, he pops up out of bed and gets going because it's time to make a difference. What a difference it makes. Our thoughts have a double whammy for us. And I want you to understand this. That our thoughts our words, not our thoughts, our words have a double whammy for us. Our words express what we're thinking. But they also play audibly back to us. And this is the power of affirmations. When we take time for affirmations, and when I came into the Unity movement, that was really a big thing. And that is, we believed in affirmations, and we had somebody somewhere, with every class we were speaking affirmations. I remember when we'd have lunch, they had a wonderful guy named Leroy Dale, who was a chiropractor who Charles Fillmore had met in Chicago, and he really liked him, and so he invited him down to Unity School, and he became a fixture there. But he was a big guy, must have stood about 6'4" tall, and probably weighed well over 200 pounds, you know. And so we'd be eating lunch, and suddenly we'd hear this voice say, all right, now everybody, let's take a word together. There is only one presence here and now. Together. You stop and he's like, there's only one presence and one power, God the good. Anyway, affirmations are a wonderful, wonderful tool that we should use over and over, because it not only makes us decide, what do I think? Enough to say it, but then when you speak it out loud, you hear your voice coming back to you. And all of this is for the purpose of building our faith and our authority in the Word. And from my personal experience, I can tell you, you can take words that in the beginning you're saying them because you know you ought to be saying them because you know it's the truth. but you haven't really embraced it totally. But in saying those words, what you find is you begin to unconsciously build a sense of authority around them, so that the time can come when you move from just speaking them to speaking them with a degree of authority. And you hear it back again. You say, I really believe that. I am being healed. I am being healed. I believe that. I can feel it. But it started off, I'm being healed. 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 I hear that. I'm being healed. I hear it. I'm being healed. And pretty soon you begin to speak it with an authority. Well, in winding this up, I want to say that bottom line to what we said today is that every one of us needs to be more fully aware of our self-talk. What are you telling yourself is true about yourself and about life? Because that is bottom line to what you're going to experience in your life. And then we want to become as fully aware as we can of the talk that we find ourselves sharing with others, because that reveals where we are inside, and it helps us to know the impact we are making upon others. And finally, I give thanks that as we do this program, we approach a point of what I would call breaking the sound barrier. Again, most of us here can remember when we first broke the sound barrier. Something that was considered, at one time the scientists actually believed we couldn't go through the sound barrier because they would find as they approached it, the planes would lose control. So they thought there was something in this sound barrier that was dangerous, but they felt they kept trying to, it was important scientifically to try to break through it. The sound barrier is 767 miles per hour. And so if you go faster than that, you go through this change that takes place, and we've all seen little puffs of moisture that gathers in the back of the plane as it goes through that point in time. Anyway, they have found that when they were through the sound barrier, there was no problem at all. The plane immediately went back to its normal reaction, only it had conquered the sound barrier. Well, I think that you and I have a sound barrier that we're all working on, whether we have ever given lip service to it or not. And that is the truth that I am the Christ. I am the child of God. I am the Christ. To fully be able to speak that with a sense of authority is sort of where we're headed. Because the day will come when we will all know that that's what Jesus was trying to tell us. We will all have that potential within us. But we will never be able to realize it until we can say with an authority, I am the Christ. When we have been able to do that, we will have collected all the little thoughts that go into life and health and our relationship to people and everything, and put it on the Christ level. And as we do that, we will approach the sound barrier when we will be able to say to ourselves in a mirror, I am the Christ. We have one of our professors, leading professors, who loves the rest of us who have trouble with him, because he likes to say to all his students, now I want you to say, I am God. Together? Well, some of us have struggled with him and said, you shouldn't be saying that because you're not God. We're an expression of God. But here's his position. He said, wait a minute. Is not God everywhere present? Then how can you be anything but God? But those of us on the other side of the fence say, yeah, but that doesn't make you God. But he says, it's all right. You've got to know there's only God, and therefore you are potentially God in expression. You are the Christ. And that's what we're working toward. It was Chuck Yeager that flew the Bell X-1 through the sound barrier the first time, and the whole world went, whoa! Unfortunately, Jesus came and broke the sound barrier, but the world wasn't ready to go, whoa! But we're approaching it. And I bless you for every step you take to bless the rest of us by your path of speaking the word with the authority, I am the Christ. Let's close our eyes and feel this within ourselves. We're walking a path together in a wonderful fellowship of daring to believe in the wondrous way in which God has made us, the Christ. No blessed presence, we give thanks for our growing capacity to embrace this truth in each in our own way, to develop it and express it. We give thanks in the name of our way shower, Jesus Christ.
Love is the only power. Love is the only way. Love, 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 love. See our circle grow. Love is the only power. Love is the only way. Love, 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 love. See our circle grow.
As you go forth, may you know that the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, the presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is. So it is.